We'll go to chapter 6 in economics, A level, economies of scale. Economies and diseconomies of scale. So we're going to start with economies of scale. For economies of scale, it occurs because we are in the long run. And in the long run, all factors are variable. So which means land, labor, and capital, we can use them as much as we want. So in the course of using them, in the long run, in the course of using them, it allows us to expand. And if we are able to expand as a firm, it means our average cost of production is expected to fall. That is when we witness this. That's when we witness economies of scale. Get the point? Economies of scale will come in because a firm has the opportunity to expand in the long run, and your expansion is aided based on the fact that you have all the factor inputs being variables. So the land, the labor, the capital, or whatever you want to use them for, you can use them for that. Whatever you want to use them for, you can use it. So that allows you to exploit economies of scale. So in the long run, all factors of production are variable. This in turn has an effect on cost as output changes. So because it's in the long run, you are able to expand. Because you are able to expand, it means you are either going to have increasing returns to scale, constant returns to scale, or diseconomies, or diminishing returns, or decreasing returns to scale. So when you have increasing returns to scale, that is the economies of scale. When you have a constant returns to scale, you are in the minimum efficiency, you are in what we call the MES, the minimum efficiency standard. And when you are moving above it, which is the optimum level, when you move beyond that, it means you are going to decreasing returns to scale, which is the same as diseconomies of scale. So there are three situational stages when it comes to the long run, which leads to economies of scale. You have economies of scale, you get to the optimum level, which you must not exceed. But as soon as you exceed the optimum level, then you go to what we call decreasing returns to scale, which will lead to the economies of scale. So economies of scale, this occurs when the long run cost fall as output increases. As firm expands in size and output, their long run average costs tend to fall. At some point, the long run average costs become constant. However, some firms become too large and the average costs begin to rise. This is called diseconomies of scale. So we have three stages when it comes to economies of scale. We have economies of scale, we have the minimum efficient scale, and we have diseconomies of scale. The economies of scale starts when the long run average cost start falling. Then gets to a state that it becomes constant. When it is constant, you are at your optimum level. That is the highest efficiency, the highest in terms of efficiency that you can do. But as soon as you exceed that, you start going to decreasing returns to scale, and that will lead to diseconomies of scale. I think you get the point here.
Yeah.
Any question about that?
No.
So that takes us to the pattern itself. So the pattern of economies of scale, pattern of falling and rising, and then rising long run average cost. Look at the graph here in figure 1. Are you there?
Yes.
The long run average cost curve is U-shaped. Why is it U-shaped? It is U-shaped based on how it behaves. So first, it expands. From OA, there's economies of scale. So initially, they fall over output range, OA. So as soon as you increase your output from O to A, your average cost of production would start falling. Then get to the optimum level. Get to the optimum level.
It's between A and B.
A and B, it is constant. So it is constant at that level, AB. But as soon as you exceed AB, so AB is what we call the minimum efficient scale, MES. So as soon as you exceed that, then you are going to decreasing returns to scale, which is the same as diminishing returns, or which is the same as diseconomies of scale, sorry. We have diminishing returns when it comes to short-run aggregate supply. So here I got OA, initially they fall over output range OA, which shows economies of scale. So OA is economies of scale. Then we have the constant here, constant returns to scale. Then we have these economies of scale. So AB is constant. Then OB is these economies of scale, which a firm must not reach. Any question about that?
No.
So that takes us to
recording in progress.
That takes us to minimum efficient scale, MES. Just hold on, please. We're simply talking about the optimum level. So the point between OA and AB is the minimum efficient scale. So here I wrote, it is the lowest point on the firm. It is the lowest point on the firm's long-run average cost curve, where the firm can produce at the lowest possible average cost. So the minimum efficient to scale is this. This is our minimum efficient to scale, where we have our optimum level, which is constant returns to scale. So this point here to this point here are our minimum efficiency to scale. Anything above this, behind it is increasing returns to scale. Above it is a decreasing returns to scale. So a firm must not exceed this point, which is the optimum level. So the optimum level, in between the optimum level is what we call the minimum efficient to scale. I think you get minimum efficient to scale here.
Yes.
Minimum efficient to scale. That's the point there. So then we have productive efficiency. And when we talk about productive efficiency, we're talking about your production that brings about the lowest cost of production. That is productive efficiency. Any question about that?
No.
Good. You can have that, I think. So we'll go to sources here. So we'll go to sources of internal economies of scale. So we go to sources of internal economies of scale. And when we talk about internal economies of scale, we're talking about a cost advantage that a firm is able to experience based on the fact that it has expanded within its own capacity. So a cost advantage you are able to, based on the fact that these factors are factors that you can control in terms of maybe your raw materials, numbers of employees you have, you are able to expand your production. Whatever way you are able to expand your production that brings about reduction in your average cost of production is called internal economies of scale. So I wrote, internal economies of scale refer to the cost advantage a firm experiences as it expands its production through the factors within its control. So factors within your control are those things that that you can control, those things that are within your own capacity. So if you're able to expand based on those factors and it reduces your average cost of production, your long run average cost of production, then you are witnessing what we call economies of scale, which is internal. So what are the sources of internal economies of scale? When we talk about sources of internal economies of scale, we're talking about the types of internal economies of scale. So the first one is financial economies. And when we talk about financial economies, I wrote, this is the ability of a firm, of a large firm, to be able to raise finance at a cheaper rate compared to smaller firms. Large firms are attractive to banks. Banks would really want to give them loans at even a cheaper rate. Why? Because they are low risk compared to a small firm. A small firm will be considered as high risk for financial institutions. As a result of that, they might not be able to raise finance. But your ability to raise finance based on the fact that you become bigger is what we call financial economies of scale. Do you get financial economies here? The ability of a firm, of a large firm, to be able to raise finance with different sources at a cheaper rate is called financial internal economies of scale. Do you understand financial? Then the second one is technical. When we talk about technical, we're talking about increasing returns to scale. A firm's decision that brings about increasing returns to scale. And mostly this will occur based on the fact that the firm has the ability, the financial capability to purchase equipment and machines that brings about efficiency. A large firm has the financial capability to buy the latest or sophisticated equipment. Yes or no?
Yes.
They have the ability to invest in the latest technology, and this will bring about increasing returns to scale. So as a result of, due to the fact that a firm has the capability to invest in equipment and machine that brings about increasing returns to scale, then the firm is witnessing what we call technical economies. Do you understand technical economies here? The ability of a firm to invest in equipment, machines that brings about increasing returns to scale. That is technical economics. Do you understand technical?
Yeah.
Then the third one, managerial. For managerial economies, here we're talking about you can't compare a small school with a big school. A big school will have the ability to employ talented specialist managers to manage them. Yes or no? And they are attractive to even different staff, different highly skilled staff compared to a small school. Same goes to businesses. A small firm might not be able to attract a highly skilled manager. They might even use one manager for all their jobs, for all their operations, compared to a larger firm. A larger firm might employ skilled or specialist manager for different positions because they have the financial capability. So based on the fact that they have the financial capability to do that, it increases their efficiency. And as a result of that, it is expected that their average cost of production will start falling. Do you understand managerial economies of scale here?
Yeah.
The ability of a large firm to be able to attract specialist managers to run their operations, which will bring about efficiency. Any question about managerial economies?
No.
The next one is marketing. For marketing economies, here we're talking about your advertisements. So here I wrote, this occurs because large firms are able to enjoy lower average cost from their marketing operations. A large firm, when it's doing advertisement, when it pays for advertisement, it might, because it operates on a large scale, it might have different product range, which will be used for the same advertisement. So your average cost of production, your cost of production will be distributed among your product range. So which means you have reduced cost for each product you are advertising compared to a small firm which has only one product range, which has only one product type. So I have one product and I'm going to pay the same fee on advertisement as a large firm because we're going to use the same airspace or the airtime. So which means a TV station that wants to do advertisement for a small business will take the same amount from a large business. But a large business, because it has large product or different product range, it will be able to split the cost on all the product range compared to a small firm. That is what marketing economies is about. Your cost of advertisement can be splitted on different product range compared to a small firm. Do you understand that? Any question about that?
No.
Then we have purchasing economies. When talking about purchasing economies of scale, we're talking about the ability of a large firm to be able to buy in bulk. So when you buy in bulk, you have discount. That means you'll be buying at a lower price, and that reduces your cost of production. Do you understand purchasing economies of scale? And the last one is risk bearing. Risk bearing economies. And when we talk about risk bearing economies, we're talking about the ability of a large firm to diversify. Because you are a large firm, you are able to diversify. Diversifying means you are spreading your risk. So if business A is not moving well, business B will move. Look at schools here. They have different branches across. So why do they have different branches across? If they are unable to get large numbers of students from one area, they'll be able to get in other area. So that means they are able to spread their risk. A small business will not be able to do that. So the ability of a large firm to be able to spread its risk through diversification is called risk-bearing economies. Any question about risk-bearing?
Yeah.
So that ends internal economies of scale.
In pro-
So the next slide, we're going to talk about these economies of scale.
What do you call a large firm that buys another large firm?
A large firm that buys another large firm. That's if a large firm is buying another large firm, it's we call it. It could be merger, it could be acquisition. It's either merger or acquisition. But when that happens, it might lead to what we call maybe oligopoly, where large firms are coming together to reduce the competition in the market. But most of the time, a large firm would not want to buy another large firm, but they might collide. They might collide to reduce competition in the market. Because they are large firms, why would they want to buy each other? A large firm would prefer to buy a smaller firm to buying a large firm. But when large firms are coming together, they might be collusion, which is illegal anyway. So they are doing that to put customers in vulnerability. Clear?
Okay.
Okay.